All right. Thank you for joining us. This is Alan Mashburn, a special edition of Carolina Conservatives, Preachers with a Punch. And we have spent countless hours. I mean, hours. I think I counted about 10 to 15 videos of reading inappropriate books that we now know are all over our state. And it is a breath of fresh air when we find specifically a North Carolinian who has written a book for children that is not inappropriate, but is appropriate. And we have the author of that book called Miracle, a birthday story. And the author of that book is Miss Wendy Alyson Jordan. She is an author. She's the illustrator also of the book. And this is her first book. So she's going to let us know if there's more to follow. We hope there is. She's a retired professional photographer. She enjoys writing. I'm sure she enjoys traveling, painting, and I have to say the illustrated book is. I was very impressed. It was very well done, and I'm not just saying that to butter her toast, but I'm just saying it because it's true. So, Wendy, thank you for joining us today. It is always a joy to have anyone who will take the initiative that you have to write these books, and we certainly hope there's more to follow. So, Wendy, tell me a little bit about yourself. What prompted you to write this book, and can we see more in your future?
Well, there's a couple of questions there. What prompted me to write the book? First of all, I raise American bison. I have a herd this year now, 16.
Wow.
It's quite a group of them now. They're kind of large. So the more they come along each year, the more of a challenge it is, really, because they are wild animals and they're not cows like some people think. They're just big furry cows, and they're very different. But each year we have at least one calf, usually. This year we had 4. So now we have 16. But last year I had an unusual thing happen, and it really inspired the book. And it also involves someone that helps me here on the farm. And she's a single girl who's from New York, and she's never had children. Wow. And the story kind of the events touched me, because here she is, first of all, a city girl, and she when the unusual thing that happened is with American bison, they're really very, very responsible. And this was the first year that I'd ever had a female actually walk away from the newborn the day that it was born. And I don't like to use the word abandon in the story. This female happened to be really juvenile. She was really very young to be a mom. And so I had to make a decision about what to do about the calf, knowing too that even regular domestic cattle are really difficult to save when a mother won't nurse them. But we pulled her out of the field, and Rachel, my friend and helper from New York, she took this baby in like her own baby, and it just inspired me in many ways, because I have an adopted grandchild, and it just the story just sort of flowed out. I've been writing for years, have never really thought about writing a children's book, but it was one of those things that happened, and I think it was an important parallel to parents that have adopted children or blended families. And I have a blended family, so I know that the subject of acceptance and belonging is something that you don't always talk to your children about. You just kind of think it's in nature, but it's not really. And Miracle accepted her situation and joined the horse herd, the small horse herd that I have, and allowed Rachel to raise her, and Rachel really became her mom.
Wow. Well, it comes through the book, and I reread it again this morning while I was sipping on my coffee, and I was just thinking, this is really, you could see it was a true story, and that made it even more precious. And I don't know fully your background, but I can say this as a pastor, you fully exhibit Christ, you fully exhibit God when you accept and you realize that there's no boundaries to family. There are no boundaries. And the older I get, the more I realize that. And so your book really exhibits that. And I want to commend you for that. One of the things I was kind of impressed, and I wasn't surprised because the book, as I said, really, it probably wasn't your intention to have a godly influence, even though I'm not saying that it wasn't, but it really does. And the website, your My Heavenwood, where does that come from?
Well, my husband and I built this farm in we started in 2006, and we named the farm Heavenwood.
Well, it's a lovely name. And it goes, it was almost like it was planned out when that you were going to write the book and head down this path, because it's a wonderful name to carry the tagline of the book, because it goes right along with the flow of the story that you're trying to tell there. So how did you get started in bison?
Well, I was raised on a large farm, very similar to this farm, because I actually modeled this property after the farm that I grew up in Lake City, Florida, which is North Florida. It's flatter there, but the farm I grew up on happened to have the highest elevation, and my grandmother's house was on top of this hill. And so when we decided on the property to where to build, I created the driveway, the ponds and everything to mimic where I grew up, which was a beautiful place. And I will say we didn't have the mountain range that Robert and I look at every morning. The Uwharrie Mountains are really our view almost all the way around. It's really beautiful here, and the trees and the grass is just absolutely beautiful. So it's different than my home place, but it's similar too, in that the fences and the way that I laid it out is the same. So I'm sorry, now I'm off track. Where was I going? Just that, being a farmer or growing up around on a farm, my grandfather was a cattle farmer and a tobacco farmer. And he specialized with Brahma, and which are really large. Those are the big cows with the big hump. And I just grew up with those. So then when Robert and I decided, well, we started with horses, just pleasure horses to ride. And then I said, I'd really like to get some cows. And then I got thinking about, what I'd really like to have are some bison. I never, I just always admired and I think everyone loves them. And they're different. They're very different. And I didn't have any experience with bison, but I'm kind of one of those farm girls that's not afraid of much. So we started out with 3. We actually bought them in New York. I kid with people and say we bought them in Buffalo, but we didn't. We bought them in Albany, New York. And a sweet guy that works for our company drove up there. It was in the wintertime, and I was getting young juvenile. You can't take a baby bison away from its mother until it's really almost a year. So it was in November, and I don't know if anyone listening knows Art Russell, but he's quite the character. And he drove up there with another guy with the trailer, and I bought 3, a bull and 2 heifers, and they were young. And the guy, Art tells me, when he got there, it was 2 below zero and snow.
Wow.
Yeah, in New York
Wow.
that year. And they loaded up the 3. The guy said, well, they're out there. You'll have to cut them away from the mother, which was like, okay. So he did. I think Art said he almost got frostbite, but they managed to get them back to North Carolina. And that's Tonka, Sugar Baby, and Daisy. And those were the three that we started out with. And Sugar Baby to date has birthed 10 calves.
Wow. Well, when you tell me you had a herd, I'm like, a herd. Wow. So I'm thinking, well, how many does it take to make a herd? So you certainly do. Well, let me let's wind down a little bit. How would you present this book to parents? And I'm sure you've had great feedback. I looked on your website and seen the reviews. Parents are receiving it. What we would love to see happen is see this in our public schools. This is wholesome. This is good. The lessons in this book are really, I mean, it's not just one lesson. It's a message of love. It's a message of acceptance, true acceptance. It's a message of adoption. There's just so much in here that is wholesome that you and I grew up on. You said you grew up on a farm, lessons that you actually learned and you're passing them along. So if we could have 100 more like you in this area, it would be great, because we really need to get books like this in the hands of all of our children, all of our parents, to help them in their raising of their children, and putting some good information out there. So are you on social media where anybody can reach you, and give us your website again?
Okay, it's www.myheavenwood.com. I do have a miracle page on Facebook, and I do book signings. If you're interested in a book signing, you can reach me on the website or on Facebook as Wendy Alyson Jordan, or just go to the page, which is Miracle. And Heavenwood the farm has a page as well. Just reach out to me on Messenger, and I'll be glad to do a book signing. I've done several book signings, and it's always really special to do a book signing in elementary schools from kindergarten to third grade, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
I've had wonderful responses. It's really interesting how quickly children of that age group grasp the story. And it's wonderful for me. I get choked up just on the memory. In Florida, I did a book signing at my elementary school, and a lot of the teachers there were my classmates. And I had a auditorium with third to fifth. Let's see, that group was third to fifth graders, and I read the book to them, and on just about every page, the whole audience of these children would be like a symphony of "aw," and I didn't expect that, and that was so sweet. But they all loved the book, and I also offer the book at River Wild, which is the restaurant here that we built, and my daughter and son-in-law own it now. And so you can get the book there in person with the plush miracle that is a gift that goes with the book. Mm-hmm. So but the story, Alan, actually, I knew from the beginning that the story was divine. It was easy for me to write. I never once paused and struggled with the story. It just flowed straight from, my being, from my heart, really. And I knew that it would help parents that struggle with having new children of any age. An infant, of course, you're not talking to an infant, but you're waiting for that day when they might ask you, which my granddaughter did. It was just a natural thing for her, because she has an older sibling and a younger sibling. And one day she wanted to know, am I adopted? And we don't know where she had that thought, but children, they're bright. And she did. And so that was around that time I had that discussion with my daughter about how would she, this is a real dilemma for parents of adoption. Do you present this to them? And when do you? When are they ready to have that discussion? So
and it really has to come natural, just the way that you described. And I guess it's necessary. I've never been there. I really can't say, but looking beyond that, your hours. We don't. There's no boundaries here. We're family. So if a child was to ask, we would probably feel obligated and do the right thing and tell them. But all just to be honest with them. But at the end of the day, we are family. And as I said, there's no gray area in family. Well, wrapping this up, because I know that you have a schedule and you're busy, but well, I do know that when I met Miss Wendy, she actually brought me a copy of the book, and then a stuffed animal of Miracle to take to my son John Luke. And when I walked in with that night, I showed him both, and of course, the first thing he goes to was the baby Miracle herself. So later on, he got interested in the book, but Miracle was a hit at our household, and maybe we can get some of those pictures up for you. But I want to thank you for joining us today. These are books that we want to highlight and we want to spread the news about and share everywhere, because they're good, wholesome books. They teach principles that we were founded on as a country: love, accepting who you are, where you are, and then that there's no boundary in family. We are, I'm going to just go ahead and say it, we are one human race. And if we start drawing those boundaries here, that's not something that we need to do. We just need to realize that we're here for a very short time here on this earth, and what we make of it is the best of it. And I would look forward to the day that, just on the topic of adoption, that adoption is made much easier and simpler in this state. But that's another discussion for another time. But that's my hope and prayer. So, Miss Wendy, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And she's given us her handles on social media and her website, myheavenwood.com. So please check her out. And she has all of the books on there. She's got it in hard copy. She's got it in paperback. And she's got little baby Miracle that you can order and have it for your child or grandchild as well. Again, thank you, Miss Wendy.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you here. And if we could have 100 more like you to do this, that would be a blessing to all of us. Again, thank you. And I pray that you will share this video to parents and homeschool groups alike, because we need to get this out in front of our children and read it to them. They will enjoy it. They will ooh and ah, and you'll have something to laugh at and smile at, because they love baby Miracle. God bless you, and I pray that you'll have a great day.
Miracle, a birthday story. Miracle is a true story of a baby bison born to a very young mommy named Blossom on a sunny spring morning at Heavenwood Farms. Blossom is an inexperienced first-time mommy. It's quickly evident this baby bison will need a new mommy to survive, and on her birthday, she is taken to the barn where she meets Rachel. Rachel feeds her and keeps close watch. Suddenly, she has a fever and a swollen knee, and the doctor says she won't survive. Everyone at Heavenwoods is worried, but good news prevails, and we name this baby bison Miracle. Miracle adapts to a new herd in the paddock of Heavenwood horses. She grows fast and strong and is loved by everyone at Heavenwood. This story illustrates that acceptance and belonging are the gifts of adoption. Being part of a non-conventional or blended family requires love, hope, and acceptance on both sides. A book by Wendy Alyson Jordan, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. www.myhavenwood.com.